Hi guys, Fireplays here and welcome back to another YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, we are going to be going over the teams contending for the top 4 in 2022. Alright guys, so we've done this with the top 8 teams. Let me just go and show you that real quick. So we've done this for the top 8 teams, and I was thinking, well, with the fixture reaction series closed now, as I've officially pre-recorded every single one of them, I was like, you know what? Why not make a sequel now? I know it's a couple of weeks later than when I originally did this, but I think doing it this way is kind of good. So today we're going to be going over the teams contending for the top 4 in 2022. So just like last time, it's going to be one team at a time. We're going to be going over them for a couple of minutes, just going over their chances. Although last time we only had 5 teams. This time we've got 6 teams. This is going to be a little bit of a longer one. But again, it's going to be sections, so you can just go and watch your team's part if you want to. So we go over every fixture, we talk about them, we talk about what they need to do, and how they can get in the top 4 in 2022. So we're going to go over the teams that we've got, the teams that we are going to be looking at today, and we're going to waste no time and get into it. And of course, we start in descending order, so we start off with the team that I think will finish 6th. Alright, so it's time now to meet the teams. So we've got Brisbane. We've got the Geelong Cats. We've got the Melbourne Footy Club, the premiers from 2021. We've got the Port Adelaide Football Club. We've got the Sydney Swans, of course, who were a shock from last year. And then, of course, the team that lost in the grand final, the mighty team, the Western Bulldogs. So those are the teams that I think could all definitely make the top 4. Now, of course, there's going to be teams that are going to miss out, just like in the teams contending for the top 8. And I do understand that. So you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section about who you think is going to make the 4. Because, of course, we know 6 is not going to 4. But you'll be thinking all these teams will make finals. So let's go ahead and start off with the team that I think will finish 6th. So the team that I think will finish 6th this year is a bit of a shock. It's the Geelong Football Club. Now, you may be like, nah, they're going to make top 4. And the amount of games that they have at GMHBA Stadium can almost press a case for that. But I do still think that they are going to finish 6th. I think they are an aging and older team. And even though they have games at Cardinia Park, it doesn't really mean... I mean, it does mean a fair bit, as they do play quite well down there. But they did lose to the Giants later on in 2021. So I do think that they are going to be a real slider this year in the ladder, and I reckon they're going to give their top 4 spots to like another team like Sydney or the Western Bulldogs maybe. But for now, yeah, they're aging. They do have problems, and yeah, they just sometimes they aren't the best team. And the way they just bombed out in the finals, they didn't really play competitive finals. They were not anywhere near competitive enough. They did get through the prelims. They had to really work hard for it though. And in the finals, they just looked so out of place. They looked not good against Port. They didn't even play their best against the Giants. And then against Melbourne, well, that was just a horror show for the Cats. So, I do think they're going to have a good and a very strong 2022, but I just don't think they're going to get up into that top 4 area. As I do say, though, I do think 1st to 6th is still going to be very close. Let's go and see what their fixture says about them. So this is not a fixture reaction. This is just a very short look at their fixture. And we're just going to have a look at how many games they have at GMHBA. So they've got 1, they've got 2, they've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 games at GMHBA. So that's almost half their home games at GMHBA. So the focus is there this year, of course. But like they've got some really important games. Sydney in round 2, Brisbane in round 4, and then they've got Port Adelaide round 10, Western Bulldogs. They've got Richmond, who could be good this year. They've got Melbourne at GMHBA. They've got Western Bulldogs at GMHBA. So they could be, they are a very interesting team this year, Geelong as well. Now, they are an aging team, so they could definitely fall and sit in 6th. Their fixture does it kind of show it? Well, I'm just going to go over how many wins I think they'll get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So they do still press their case, definitely. So they still do have, they're still going to get a good collection of wins this year, the Cats. It's just, are they going to finish high? I think they're going to finish 6th. Let's go back real quick. So for Geelong, I think they're going to finish 6th. Now, of course, being 6th does have a couple of benefits, but it does have definitely some dramatic losses as well. So no double chance, although you will get to host an elimination final against the 7th place team. And that home final would more than likely be at GMHBA anyway, so there you go. But I think Geelong are finishing 6th in 2022. I think they're an ageing team, and yeah, they've got so many players over 30, and when you do see that kind of comes to their twilight of their career. You've still got a couple of people at 30, which is still perfect, but you got some older ones, 33, 34, and then it just kind of, you need to really try out some youth this year, some young players, which also does make another reason why they could finish 6th, is they're experimenting in 2022. So in 5th, I am predicting the Sydney Swans. Now, if you've seen my prediction video, I do think they are going to be runners-up. Now, you're probably like, you think they're going to be runners-up, why aren't they in the top 4? Well, I do think they are going to have to work really hard in the finals, but I think they're going to be a different team, and they're going to be a good team in the finals, the Swans. So, pretty much, they've got a very good list. They've got some young players. They've got the experience. So, this is definitely a team that could really be pushing for a flag. Now, why do I think they're going to finish 5th? I reckon they are going to go through the finals. I just think they're going to fall short on percentage. Now, I just don't think they're going to get massive wins over some teams, and that's why they're going to fall short on percentage. I don't think points are going to be a real factor in this. Now, for Sydney, they are definitely coming off a good 2021, because, of course, in 2020 they were like bottom 4, and then they rose up to pretty much top 4 standards in 2022. Just unlucky to miss out on the top 4, actually. And they were really good. They were really strong. They got over some big teams like the Cats. They got over the Tigers at the MCG. They were playing some really good footy this year. And I reckon in 2022, there's going to be no exception. There's going to be no difference. I reckon they're going to be a better team, if anything. And I reckon it's going to be harder to contend for the top 4 in 2022, as these teams are going to be stronger. They're going to be better than last year. And I reckon the Swans are going to be so much better. They are still going to miss out on the top 4, however, they're going to finish in 5th. But I think they're going to have a great year, and they're going to be a great team. And especially on the SCG, I reckon they could be pretty deadly. So let's just go and check out their fixture now, see what they've got. But I do like how they are still a decently young team. Yes, they did give away Jordan Dawson to the Crows. But look, I reckon they're still going to be fine without him, and I still think 5th is definitely still achievable. And if not 5th, you definitely want to try and go for that top 4 spot, but I think the Swans will finish in 5th. Now, their fixture is also kind of interesting, as you probably would be expecting. They play the Giants twice. You'll probably be thinking that they'll probably drop one of them games. I do think they will win against the Cats in round 2. They'll probably drop a game against Western Bulldogs. They should win against North West Coast Hawthorn. Brisbane could go either way, really, but I do think they should be able to get the win. They've got 2 games against Essendon. They play Melbourne and Port Adelaide, which could be pretty hard. They might drop a game against the Saints as well, you don't know. They could drop a game against Freo. They'll probably drop a game against the Giants. So there is a good chance that they will finish outside the top 4 this year as well, Sydney. Probably percentage-wise. But I reckon this is a good fixture. I reckon it's going to be a good team to keep an eye out on this year. And just seeing, are they really going to be able to go all the way, or are they going to be stuck? Like, can they go all the way? Can they get into a prelim? Can they even get into a semi? Because, of course, last year they were knocked out in the first round by the Giants. Can they get into a prelim? Can they get into a semi? Could they get into the granny? Granny probably got up against the D's. I reckon they can finish runners-up. But you got to make strong cases in these games. And when you play a team like North Melbourne, you don't just say, oh, yeah, we'll take this one out by 20 points. We'll go and win it. That's still all fine. But your percentage is going to sit around that 100 mark if you go and do that. And don't forget, you could get belted. You could get absolutely belted in these big losses as well. So, look, if I was the Swans, I'd be making sure that you are beating a team like North Melbourne at the SCG by 50 points. I'd be making sure of that. I'd be making sure next week you travel over to WA and you beat West Coast by 30 points. just so then you can lock in these better wins for percentage. Because in the long run, it's going to be important. Because then that sometimes decides what gets you into the top 4 and even more the top 8. Sydney have a good list, and I reckon they're ready to explode in 2022, finishing 5th. Now, finishing just inside the top 4 this year, I have Brisbane. Now, this is where they finished last year, and again, you can probably say they weren't the best in finals, which is about true. Now, I reckon this year they are going to be one of the best teams in the competition. I reckon they're going to be really strong, really hard, especially up at the Gabba. Now, I reckon they're going to build a real big fortress up there, and I've wanted to say this a lot, but I reckon they are going to build a real strong fortress up there, and teams that enter there are going to be demolished. Now, here's where I get this casing from. They play Melbourne in round 23, correct? I do think Brisbane will win that game. Now, you're probably like, how? But I just think they have it, just because it's up at the Gabba, and I reckon they are so strong up at the Gabba. Now, yes, I know Richmond have beaten them up there in previous years, and I know that other teams have beaten them, but I just think this year their Gabba fortress is going to be stronger than ever. It was a disappointment in 2020 for them not to make the grand final because they had their whole season at the Gabba. But this year, I think the games they have at the Gabba are going to be close. The reason why I put them in at 4th though is I do think they do have some very small problems away from home. Of course, last year beating Carlton by 18 points away from home and only beating Collingwood by 1 point away from home. So that's where I'm getting that evidence from. That's why I've put them in 4th. On to their fixture now. They should be able to beat Port Adelaide in round 1. And then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games. So half their games have the Gabba, right? So if you can win at least, if you win every single one of them games, that's already got you 11 wins. And then you could definitely win these games away from home. So I reckon they're going to build a real fortress. And I reckon they do have the potentiality of winning every game up at the Gabba. So look, I'll read out the teams. You've got Port Adelaide at the Gabba. You've got North Melbourne. You've got Collingwood. You've got West Coast. You've got GWS. You've got St Kilda. You've got Western Bulldogs. You've got Essendon. You've got Gold Coast. You've got Carlton. You've got Melbourne. Are they really the hardest of names to beat up at the Gabba? Not really. They're not really hard. Some of the other teams you have away from home, which can be a little bit harder, but the Western Bulldogs, Port Adelaide, Melbourne are the only teams that I could see Brisbane losing to. But I do think Brisbane will beat Port Adelaide in round 1 just because of Port Adelaide's recent form up at the Gabba. But I reckon Brisbane, they're building a real fortress up there, and I reckon they're going to be a top 4 team in 2022. They've got a very even, balanced team, and I'm saying Brisbane 4th in 2022. Now, finishing 3rd in 2022, I have the Western Bulldogs. Now, they've got a very explosive team. They've got a very good balanced team, just like Brisbane do as well. Now, I do see them finishing 3rd, and I definitely see them making another prelim or maybe even making another granny. And yeah, I reckon this team is a very good team. Very unlucky to miss out on the 4 last year because of their late form slump. Now, of course, you got to really try if you're the Western Bulldogs and make sure that does not happen again. Now, we are starting to run out of a little bit of time, but you've got to try and make sure that does not happen again, that form slump. You need to be playing for the whole season. You need to be playing nice and strong. So they've got a very strong team through the midfield. You've got names like Bontempelli, McRae, Smith, Stephen Martin's evolved into a really good ruckman. Down forward, Bruce, Norton. Then in the back line, you've got Bailey Dale, Caleb Daniel. And I am forgetting some names. I do apologise, but there's some more amazing names in the back as well, and in the forward and in the midfield that I would have been forgetting. But Western Bulldogs for 3rd. We'll go and check out their fixture. So, of course, they play Melbourne twice. They open up the year against Melbourne. They've got Sydney in round 3, Richmond round 4, and then they go through a really easy stage. Port Adelaide in round 8. Then you got Geelong. You got Brisbane up at the Gabba, which that could be potentially hard game, as I do think, as I just said, Brisbane are going to build a real strong fortress up there. Sydney SCG as well. You play Melbourne twice. I reckon the Western Bulldogs should be able to win one of them games, just like last year. Geelong GMHBA could actually be quite tough. And then you've got a couple of important games that also decide the 8 as well, like up against Freo GWS as well. So for the Western Bulldogs, this fixture does definitely say a top 4 spot is theirs, just because of an easiness of degree that you've got as well. You go through pretty easy parts, so I don't think this is a too hard of a fixture for the Western Bulldogs, so that's why I'm saying they are getting into the top 4. That's why I say they finished 3rd in 2022, and their team also says it all. Looking at it on paper, it does look fantastic as well. Good team, good fixture, that means a good place. So a good team plus a good fixture equals a good place on the ladder. That's where I think they're going to finish, in 3rd. Now in 2nd, you may not think this, but I do think Port Adelaide are going to have a good year this year. Now I reckon they should be able to win a couple of their games at the Adelaide Oval against these higher up teams like Geelong, Western Bulldogs, for example. I do think they should be able to take down Geelong at the Adelaide Oval. Now it is something about Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval against these better teams which is interesting, but I still do think they're going to have a great year, Port Adelaide. And this year, you've really got to try and make a grand final with your Port Adelaide. And they are another team that could definitely make the grand final. Just with Sydney, the Western Bulldogs, Brisbane, any team except for Geelong, really, I think could make the grand final. And the teams that just sneak into the 8. So in this top 4 video, I do have Port Adelaide sitting 2nd now. I think they're going to have a really strong year. They're going to be a really strong team. Wines coming off of a career best year. Winning the Brownlow will just make him feel even better. Boak's been good. You've got Gray up forward who's been pretty decent. Dixon's been okay as well. But this year, you've just got to really try and make sure that when you're playing these better teams at home, you've got to really try and put up a good force to try and win them. Otherwise, then you could be in a little bit of trouble. Especially later on in the year if you were to host a preliminary final or an away one. Depends, but look, still, Port Adelaide, I reckon I'll have them sitting 2nd. Now, they do have Brisbane in round 1, which will probably put their percentage down a bit, but then you've got like Hawthorn, Adelaide, which can put it right back up. You've got Melbourne at home. You've got... Let's just go over all their home games. Who do they have at home in 2022? So they've got Hawthorn. You can technically count Adelaide, really. You've got Melbourne, you've got West Coast, you've got Western Bulldogs, you've got Essendon, you've got Sydney, Gold Coast, you've got GWS, you've got Geelong, you've got Richmond, and then you've got the Crows. So really, you should be able to try and win most of those home games, and then again, that puts you in a good spot. You win a few of your away games, and then you're right up in contention for the top 4. So Port Adelaide this year, I reckon they're going to be a good team. I reckon they've got decent fixture. Round 1's pretty hard against the Lions up at the Gabba, but I reckon after that they don't have too much more hardness. Of course, Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval. Do they play Melbourne twice? I'm not quite entirely sure. Because if they don't, yes they do. So that is a little bit harder. But look, they still don't have a bad fixture, and I say Port Adelaide for 2nd. So I've got Port Adelaide for 2nd. I reckon their team is ready to explode in 2022, and they are going to be able to find some really good things in the process when they explode. So that means there's one team left to finish 1st, and that is the Melbourne Footy Club. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because, well, of course, they were premiers last year, and I reckon they're just going to be really strong this year. From round 1 in 2021, they just looked ready already when they kept Fremantle. They couldn't get a goal in the first quarter, Freo, so they got it in the second quarter. Now, Melbourne... all of their players are firing, they're all ready to go. They haven't made too many list changes in the off-season either, which is a good thing. Keep the list that won you a granny. Have those reserve players for everything, really. Have a key forward reserve, have a key back reserve, have a ruck reserve, and that's exactly what they did. And they've got some young talent as well, but I don't really think you need to really do anything, Melbourne. Now, of course, if other teams do learn your tactics, you are in trouble, but then you can just change it. And Melbourne, the thing is that they've got such a good team, such a what's the word for it? A team that can definitely adapt as well. And they had Petrarca, Oliver on fire, Gawn was good, and then some of their backmen, some of the names that you don't really hear a lot were really on fire as well. And in the granny, they all just came together. Tommy McDonald, he was a real story of 2021 as well. He was about to be delisted, and they just decided to keep him, and he came out, looked his absolute best. So, Melbourne, brilliant job for winning the flag in 2021. and I think they could definitely do it in 2022. And I think a grand final opponent for them will probably be it'll probably either be Brisbane, Sydney, Western Bulldogs, or maybe Port Adelaide. I can't really see anyone else come. I don't really see Geelong getting through. But anyway, let's have a look at their fixture. So, of course, Melbourne this year, they're going to be very good. They're going to be a hard team to beat. And, yeah, they've just got such a decent fixture. They've got Gold Coast, Essendon. Having Port Adelaide at Adelaide still shouldn't be too hard. And they should be able to win most of these games with some ease as well. They're all reasonably easy for Melbourne. Of course, going down to GMHBA could be hard. Going to Marvel to play the Western Bulldogs could be hard as well. Going up to the Gabba to play Brisbane, I reckon that's going to be a real challenge for Melbourne. Going up there is, I reckon, in round 23, Brisbane are going to have the best fortress up at the Gabba, and I reckon Melbourne could actually really get destroyed up there as well. You don't know. We don't know yet. We'll just have to wait and see, but round 1, put that in on your calendar just like I have. Melbourne Western Bulldogs, a grand final rematch. Round 1. You don't really get any better than that as well. Really looking forward to that game. And that, of course, marks the return of football as well. Probably two of the best sides going head-to-head in round number 1. So, yeah, might have to cut this a little bit short, but Melbourne, I reckon, I have Melbourne winning the flag, and I reckon they're going to be a real good team in 2022. And, of course, their players are just going to they're on a red hot streak, and I reckon they're just going to pick up from where they left off last year. So now that brings us to the outro. Do you think it will be Melbourne? Will it be Sydney? Will it be the Western Bulldogs? Will it be Port Adelaide? Will it be Geelong? Will it be Brisbane? So you guys can let me know which teams you think will make the top 4 in 2022, or if you have a completely different thought, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Alright guys, but I do hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you guys never miss another video. Also before, I just want to say thank you guys all so much for watching, and I do want to say, this is just my opinion. So you guys can leave yours in the comment section. But I do hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you guys never miss another video on my channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. So bye guys. 5 players out.